Hey there, it's Dave D from DaveD.com, where we help professional service providers generate better leads, make more money, and help more clients. Well, today I'm going to share with you a psychic sales technique for subliminally planting a answer to an objection that your prospect has, subliminally planting it in their mind before they actually come up with the objection. But first, true story. My wife watched this series on Netflix called The OA. I don't know if you've seen The OA, but it was, in my opinion, one of the worst series I've ever seen in my entire life. Let me just set the stage of one of the episodes. There was a giant psychic octopus that put its tentacles on a angel who was on Earth and imparted information in her mind psychically through the tentacles. I kid you not. But that's neither here nor there. You don't need a psychic octopus to use the strategy that I'm going to share with you here today. So a real pro knows that you want to answer objections in advance. What an amateur does is hope and pray that the prospect doesn't come up with an objection. But the truth is, an objection in most cases only occurs when the prospect doesn't have all the information that they need, or the salesperson hasn't done a really good job explaining the value of what they're offering. So what you want to do is answer all of the objections that you can before the prospect raises them. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing one-to-many selling like on a webinar, or whether you're doing one-to-one selling where you're trying to close during a consultation. You want to handle objections in advance. And one of the best ways to do it is with this subliminal psychic sales technique. The way that it works is you answer the objection in the context of a story that you're telling. Now, I'm going to give you an example that I use in literally almost every one-to-many sales presentation that I do. So when I'm doing a webinar and I'm selling a high-ticket item, let's say the thing that I'm selling is I'm typically selling something like $19.97, $2,000. And so I'll tell this story, and you can hear and you'll understand how I implant the answer to the objection that my prospect is going to have in their mind before they have it. You see, I know that one of their objections is going to be, geez, I really want to get this product, but I can't afford it. It costs too much for me. So I know that's going to be objection when I get to price, when I do my close. Now, I don't want to handle that objection then. I want to handle it way earlier. And so here's specifically how I do it. I tell the story about how when I was dead broke and I was struggling, I went to a seminar and I saw this guy speak. And at the end, he was selling this product. And I knew that that product is the thing that I needed to turn my career around, to turn my business around. But my immediate thought was, I can't afford it. It costs too much. And then I remember something that Jim Rohn said. Jim Rohn once said that successful people invest in themselves and their education. And I knew that if I wanted to be successful, I needed to invest in myself and my education. And so I went ahead and I invested in the product, even though I didn't think I could afford it. And then I go on to tell the rest of the story about how it changed my life. So here's what I've done. I have planted the answer to the I can't afford it objection in the prospect's head before it's even raised. Now, the beautiful thing is when I get to the close and I tell the price of my product, if the prospect doesn't think, but I can't afford it, it doesn't cost too much, that seed never sprouts. However, if the prospect in their mind says, well, I can't afford it, I want it, but I can't afford it, that seed sprouts. That seed that I planted sprouts. And the prospect immediately remembers the story that I told about how I invested in myself, in my education. They also remember the third-party quote that I used, right? Jim Rohn said that successful people invest in themselves and their education. Now, by the way, this isn't theoretical, because I can tell you every single time, literally every time I went out and I did a one-to-many presentation on stage, someone would come up to me, take me aside and say, Dave, I didn't think I could afford this. This is going to be a real stretch for me. But, like Jim Rohn said, right? If I want to be successful, I need to invest in myself and my education. So I know for a fact that this strategy works. So how do you implement it? Well, you want to create a list of all of the objections that your prospect has. And then one of the strategies that you want to use is to tell stories that plant that objection in the prospect's minds. Now, there's other ways that you can do it and that you should answer objections as well during your presentation, but that's one that you can take and use. And the beautiful thing is it's one of the most subtle. Final thing on this. Notice the difference between telling the story about myself and using a third-party quote as opposed to answering the objection head on. So the person says to themselves, well, I can't afford that. And if you look at them and you say, well, successful people invest in themselves and their education. And if you want to be successful, you need to do what successful people do. Well, that's going to totally turn off the prospect. That's going to break rapport. That's going to put up their defenses and have them become combative with you. By answering the objection in the form of a story, especially using a third-party quote from someone who is respected, it's a much more powerful, subtle, and elegant way to answer an objection. So if you like this kind of stuff, every day I send out a daily DEEmail newsletter. It's absolutely free. All you do is go to DEEcom to subscribe. Thanks for watching this. By the way, if you like this type of video, then give it this a thumbs up and subscribe to the old channel. I'd also love to read your comments. I do respond to all of them. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.